educator or a counselor or a social worker, but one of the things that you think on a regular basis is, why aren't parents on board? Why won't they take some of this advice for helping to get their kid to listen and help get them to calm down when I've been telling them in different words and different ways how they can do so? What I want to share with you today is that if parents have fear, it makes it really difficult for them to take your advice. Okay, so let me explain. For those of you who don't know, I'm Samantha Moe, a certified parent coach and creator of the parent training Mad to Glad Blueprint. This is an approach where we teach positive behavior tools to calm intensity. So these are when you have kids with high needs, sometimes a special needs, or maybe even a spirited nature. But what you know for certain is that you have a child who has more energy, who has higher needs for control, and might even have more of a demanding temperament. Part of the summer special that we offered a month ago and that we're going through the training right now is to talk to parents about what their triggers are and what gets them stuck. So let me share an example. A parent was sharing how when they went out to a public space to buy some regular goods, I'll just say it, they were doing a Target run. What they said was when their 8-year-old boy with ADHD got really excited and started walking in front of the parent started getting nervous, trying to pay attention to where the child was going while hanging on to the toddler in her arms. And she said, I got afraid of so many things. Am I going to lose my child? What are people thinking about me? How am I going to handle the situation? Because I've got a toddler in tow too, and it's really hard to hang on to this toddler and dash through a crowd of people to find my 8-year-old who is more impulsive. Also, she said that the grandparents were coming into town, and if she were in Target with the grandparents, they would probably be judging her and say, if you would just raise them the way that we raised you, if you were sterner, if you spanked your kids, and on and on and on. She said that's the type of feedback or judgment that I would get from my own parents. So what I want you to consider when you are working with families is that when a parent is in a fear state, that fight or flight stress response is kicked in for them. And what they're considering in the moment is, how can I survive this moment? And how can I help my child survive this moment too? So some of the things that you're seeing in your setting working with these families, or the things that they report to you, could be an indicator that the parent actually needs help getting through some of these emotions so that they're more open to try something new, so it doesn't feel like survival mode. So one of the things that you can explore with parents so that everybody is on board, I mean, you're already on board for helping these kiddos and families. So if you're really driven to help get parents on board, I want to share some of these questions that we'll ask in the parent coaching world. So we could ask parents something like, well, what has the pattern of behavior been that freaks you out? Like, what triggers you? What gets your blood boiling? Get really honest with parents and create a safe space that they can answer that question and go deeper with that self-reflection. You could also ask parents, what do you suppose your child's future holds? This opens up the door for parents to express those things that keep them up at night. And sometimes almost comically, I mean, it's not comical if you're the parent, but almost comically, what I hear over and over again are things like, if I don't teach my child how to behave, then they're going to end up in jail someday. So I get that that's a real thing. I totally do. And the percentage of kids who end up in juvenile detention is a much smaller percentage than the number of parents who are actually worried about this. So let parents express that fear of what they think is going to happen in the future with their child, so that they can just get that off of their shoulders, and then they can move on and try some new techniques so that that outcome doesn't occur. You could also ask them, who are you worried about judging you? Who has been judging you? Who's judged you in the past? Again, we're just creating space so that their amygdala, which holds on to trauma and fear themselves, just like it does for children, we're letting this be released from the amygdala so that parents don't get stuck in that survival mode, and they can go move more into thrive mode. They can try something new. That's what thrive mode is all about. How do I try something new? And then Finally, you could ask these parents why they think this behavior is occurring. Where do they think it comes from? And you'll hear all sorts of interesting admissions. Sometimes parents will trace it all the way back to the birth process, and they'll say, you know, my kid's been intense and colicky since the day they were born. So, you know, some parents are worried about an illness that they got when they were pregnant, or they worry about something else with the condition of their health or their baby's health. They also might say something really revealing and important for your work with them and your compassion, something about a mental illness that might be in the family lines. So know that if you help parents sort through the fear that they have, it creates this opening, it creates this open heart space. It literally creates a space of possibility in their brain so that they can shift their behavior instead of being run by fear. So I hope that this tip was helpful. If you have questions that you ask parents or encouragement that you provide to parents to pull some of that fear off of their shoulders, leave a comment. I would love to hear it. And remember, if you need some more information, you know where to find us at Mad to Glad. We're constantly posting new tips so that we can transform families that are experiencing challenging behavior.